What's going on, guys? Welcome back to United View. How is everybody doing? Yes, we're back with another press conference. It's Friday, so you know what that means. It's press conference day. Ralph Rangnick just wrapped up his Manchester United Tottenham pre-match press conference about an hour or so ago. Very short one today. Very short one. Press conference, that is. I mean, let's not get into that. Very short one, very short press conference it was today. And you know what? It was quite an interesting one in the sense that I really did, considering everything coming out of considering the game last weekend, right? We got absolutely pumped by Manchester City, especially second half. We got absolutely battered, embarrassed. Players gave up. Players didn't do anything. They walked around. Second half, 92% possession settings, 0.00 XG settings. Following that, you got the Marcus Rashford stuff coming out. Rashford's considering his future. Following that, Cristiano Ronaldo, he took a trip. He went to Portugal. Was that allowed? Wasn't that allowed? Following that, Edison Cavani. Following that, Pochettino. Following that, Ten Hag. I was going into today's press conference and I was thinking, you know what? We're going to get some pretty tasty questions here. There's lots of meat on the bone here. There's lots of questions to be asked. Everyone in the room is going to get their opportunity. Ask a question. It's going to be some good ones. And we really didn't get that. We didn't really. We got a bit about Ronaldo, but that was about it. It was a very short one, and just again wasn't not a lot really of substance. Obviously, a couple of questions asked about the situation with Chelsea, which was inevitable, especially with Ralph Rangnick. Of course, the last job he had prior to coming to Manchester United was in Russia, so that's a connection that not a lot of other managers have. So of course he was going to be asked about that. Everyone's talking about that. A little bit about Ronaldo and a little bit about the game, and there was a good Rashford response, in fairness. But yeah, it was a short press conference, and a lot of questions I was surprised weren't asked, or subjects that were not delved into as much as maybe they should be or should have been. So we'll get into it as always. We'll try and disseminate the truth. We'll try and look into these questions, what questions should have been asked, the answers, all that kind of stuff ahead of tomorrow's game against Spurs. I'll tell you what as well, I'm nervous for tomorrow, right? And you know me, guys, I don't really get nervous, predictions, whatever. The reason I'm nervous is because I'm a big believer in the jinx. I'm a big believer in all that kind of stuff. Guess who's doing the match for you tomorrow? Yeah, guess who's doing the match for you tomorrow? I'm sorry for the loss in advance. I apologise in advance because I'm doing the match for you tomorrow, which means we've lost. Or we're going to have a terrible result because my record this season is not good on the match for you. I spoke to KG on the phone yesterday when we were organising all this because I'm doing the match view tomorrow. KG's doing the full-time view tomorrow. We're switching shifts, folks. And I said to him, you know what? The one positive, I suppose, coming out of just that awful defeat, awful performance, awful results, is that KG for one day had a little bit of a taste of what I've had to deal with this season. A little bit of a taste of when you're on the stream and you have to sit there, like when the Liverpool game, when you're watching them get pumped 5-0 and you're just sitting there like what do I say? I had it earlier this season with Man City, but I'm back on them tomorrow, which again is not good, folks. It's not good. It really is. It's not good. EDT says, and I'm unsubscribing now. I can't have you ruining my match day experience. I mean, I apologise. I can only apologise, EDT. It's unfortunate. It's unfortunate. Edith says, no way, kid. We got this. We'll get the dub. I hope so, Edith. I really do. Keegan says, Man United can't hurt me anymore. I've written this season off. That's a great mentality. I like that, Keegan. You know, we're stronger than this. We're stronger than all this. Come on. Junior G says, guys, like the video before Mike Phelan arrives. Yeah, I would do that, guys. Smash a like on the video on the way in. Then you don't even have to worry about it, right? It's when you walk into the house, you kick your slippers off. I'm not sure why you're wearing slippers coming into a house. That's a bit alarming. Shoes. I meant to say shoes. But kick your shoes off. You've already clicked the like. Then you can relax. We're amongst friends here. I'm not sure where the slippers thing came from a second ago. That was concerning. That was weird. Let's get into the questions. And Raz says 100k subs, exactly, on the road to 100k subscribers. So if you haven't already, be sure to smash a like and subscribe, bottom right-hand corner, as we're on that road to 100k. 100k subs and breaking the curse tomorrow. Well, Raz, I have technically broken the curse a couple of times. We have had some good results. I did the match view when we played West Ham and we scored in the last minute. That was a good one. I did Ronaldo's return against Newcastle. That was a good one. I did Rangnick's first game, which was a win. That was a good one. So my record's not horrible. It's just when it goes bad, it goes really bad for me. So fingers crossed on that one. And Victor says, big up Mr. Reliable. Appreciate that, Victor. Okay, let's get into the questions. So the first question was from Simon Stone. Of course, as we spoke about last week, the full assembled press is back in person to these press conferences, which does add another layer of maybe intensity. Is that the right word? Because the questions are sort of fired at you quicker. You don't have to wait to the virtual next person, virtual hand up, all that kind of stuff. It's a bit more intense, a bit quicker, and the journalists do jump on things that maybe they wouldn't be able to on these Zoom calls. So Simon Stone had the first question. He asked about the situation in Russia and with Chelsea, of course. Asked Ralf Rangnick what his view was on that, about what is happening with English football and what is happening in Ukraine and the impact that it's having on events here. This is what Ralf Rangnick had to say, quote, "Everybody shares the same opinion that this is a tragedy, what is happening over there. Fingers crossed they can somehow find a peaceful solution once again." Which, to be honest, I don't really have much more to say on that because Ralf Rangnick, once again, has said it perfectly. It's horrible. It's absolutely horrible what's happening over there. I mean, when you watch it on the news, it's horrible and it's difficult to watch. Imagine living it. That's the only thing I can think of to say is that you're watching it on the news and you see it on the news, and even now you're like, man, this is so like intense and it's horrible and lives are being lost. And that's just watching it on TV, let alone living it. I cannot even imagine. I cannot even imagine living it. And we talk about football and we talk about all that kind of stuff, but it pales in comparison to human life, and it always has to. So Ralf Rangnick said it perfectly. What is going over there is a tragedy. Hopefully they can somehow find a peaceful solution, or things can get better before they get worse. I really do hope that is the case. The next question, a follow-up from that from Simon Stone. So talking about Thomas Tuchel at Chelsea, etc. Is that something that managers are going to have to do moving forward? Are they going to have to do their own version of, of a background check on some of the clubs that they accept offers from? And this is what Rangnick said, quote, "Anyone in this room or wherever couldn't have foreseen what happened in the last weeks. We need to be very careful about blaming someone. Roman Abramovich is the owner, but Arsenal and Everton had Russian involvement, so they're not the only club." And he kind of continued to say, it doesn't say it in this quote, but he kind of continued to say that, what's going on over there affects everything. It's affecting, obviously, when you have sanctions, economic sanctions that affect economies and affect everything, it will affect everything, whether that's football, gas, oil, you name it. It affects everybody. But ultimately, we can sit here and complain about football, and we can sit here and say it's a terrible, or Chelsea fans or whoever can say it's a terrible thing what's happening to Chelsea and all that kind of stuff, but it doesn't affect us as directly as it does in Ukraine. They're the people being directly affected by it. They're the ones, in some cases fighting for their lives, and everything pales in comparison to that. Like I said, football is what it is, and what's going on right now, especially at like Chelsea, is, as a football fan, it is surreal to see. But as Ralf Rangnick said, it affects everything. This situation of there is affecting everything, and it will continue to affect everything as long as it goes on for. And it's a terrible shame. It's a tragedy. It really is, absolutely. But moving on to the game. We was asked about the game tomorrow. How big is it for the season and what players will be available? He said, quote, "We are fully aware of the importance of tomorrow. We have to win that game. We're fully aware of that. We had a good week of training." I tell you what, a penny for every time I've heard that. We've had a good week of training. I want 1 week them to come out and say we had a bad week of training. We had a really crap week of training this week. I'm really not looking forward to tomorrow because we were crap in training. Of course they're not going to say that. He also spoke about Luke Shaw missing out. He said, quote, "Luke Shaw will miss out until yesterday, still testing positive for COVID. Scotty McTominay is a question mark, problems with his calf. Right now, it's more likely that he being McTominay, will not be available because if we risk him tomorrow, he might be out for the game on Tuesday. I tend to be careful if it's a calf injury." He also said that the players are fully aware of the importance of tomorrow's game. We've had a good week of training. The focus is there. The togetherness is there. He also spoke about Edison Cavani probably being available, but we'll speak about that later on. So Luke Shaw's going to miss out, so Tellez will be at left back. Bear in mind, by the way, guys, we're not going to go too much into the preview side of things today because later on in this evening, Flex is going to have a match preview, a really fun match preview as well. So keep an eye out for that one later on this evening. But McTominay's looking like he's going to be out as well, which is, I would have thought he would have started, but it makes that midfield three, which I think Rangnick will go for, pretty easy, really. He's probably going to go with Pogba, Bruno and Fred. McTominay might have been in there and he might have moved things around, but I don't think you'd have to move things around as much as he would against, as he did rather against Manchester City, because Ronaldo and Cavani are going to be available. We also know that Telles is going to start as well. How is everyone feeling about that? So, I mean, Luke Shaw missing out. We spoke about Luke Shaw earlier this week, didn't we? That, you know, the reports coming out about him being open to signing a new contract. He'd be open to signing a new contract. Of course he would, because he's not been playing very well, and it's out of preservation, in my opinion. And we shouldn't be looking at contracts right now. We shouldn't. We should be looking at getting a new manager. Should be looking at focusing towards the end of the season. I mean, like Rangnick says, look, we're fully aware of the importance of tomorrow. We have to win that game. We're fully aware of that. I am really, really tired. Really tired. And I do my very best, guys, to remain optimistic and upbeat and, you know, try and look at the best case scenario and all that kind of stuff. And even the last few weeks prior to the Man City game, I was going, well, you know, it's not mathematically impossible. It's improbable, but not impossible, all that kind of stuff. And it still, I guess, is somewhat the case. It's improbable, not impossible. But I'm tired of saying we have to win tomorrow. That's my point. I'm really tired of going, tomorrow, we got to win. We got to win tomorrow. Yes, we've got to win tomorrow. But of course we do. And if we don't win tomorrow, I mean, top four is already pretty much over anyway. It is. You know, and he was asked about that later on, and we'll speak about it later on. But let's look at the situation. Arsenal are a point ahead of us. They've got 3 games in hand. This would be, I mean, the slip-up they would have to do. And I understand they've got big games coming up. I understand they've got some tough games and all that kind of stuff. But the slip-up they would have to do would be catastrophic. Let alone that. Put that to the side. That's assuming that between now and the end of the season, we're going to win every single game. And just, we're not. We're not going to win every game between now and the end of the season, because if you're looking at our recent form, if you're looking at our recent history, there is nothing in the recent history to suggest we can go on any kind of run. Because we haven't. We've been so inconsistent this season. I've said it before. At this point, we don't deserve top 4. We don't. You can't play how we've played all season and then just sort of sneak in. We got lucky in the end. No, you should be held accountable for all that kind of stuff. Do we have to win tomorrow? Of course we do. Absolutely. If we lose tomorrow, we're getting even closer and closer to mathematically, you know, being certain. I guess the only positive that would come out of losing tomorrow is that you just go, right, seriously, write off the season. I mean, not if it's not written off anyway, it'd be like, right, let's not even bother when it comes to the Premier League, because it'd be pointless. And again, we're, you know, as Rangnick said, we have to obviously rely on, you know, focus on ourselves first, but we're really looking at the competition to slip up in a major way. And I just don't see that. As I said, Shaw missing out. Hopefully, of course, he recovers quickly from COVID. Hopefully, he doesn't have any long COVID effects or anything like that. I don't think he'll be a huge miss. I think at the moment, all 4 fullbacks are pretty interchangeable in the sense I don't think any of them are playing particularly better than the rest. I think that goes the same on the right-hand side. I know we talk a lot about Dalot and Wan-Bissaka here on the channel, but frankly, Dalot's form hasn't been that particularly great. And if anything, Wan-Bissaka's won his shirt back because Dalot's form's been average at best. And I think you could look at all the Manchester United fullbacks at the moment and go, actually, we probably could do with 4 new fullbacks. Could do with what Pep did in his second season at Manchester City, buy 4 new fullbacks. We need that, but that's not even at the top of the list in terms of priorities of what we need right now. So I don't think Shaw will be a huge miss. I think McTominay, if I recall, he played against Spurs earlier this season when we won 3-0 and he played quite well. I think McTominay's been okay recently. I think he had a poor game against Man City. I thought he had a good game against Leeds. Again, I think he probably would have started. I think the fact that Ralph is saying, look, if I risk him tomorrow, he's probably not going to play on Tuesday, gives you an indication Ralph really wants him for Tuesday. He sees McTominay as being really important for the Champions League on Tuesday. So pencil that one in. McTominay's not playing tomorrow because he's probably going to play on Tuesday, and he's that important to Ralph Rangnick in his mind. You know, those reports came out earlier this week, right, with Ralph Rangnick saying, you know, of all the people that he's looked at in the Manchester United squad, there's only a couple that he thinks are actually, you know, somewhat mentally resolute and don't collapse, and McTominay was one of them. So yet another coach comes in and rates Scott McTominay. He's not the first. He's not. You've got Jose, you've got Ollie, and you've got Ralph all come in and say, yeah, I like McTominay. So I think the McTominay naysayers will probably have to look at something about that. NK Shooter says, is this the worst season since Sir Alex? season's not over yet. That's what I would say. This kind of stuff, when people say that, or when people say, has Ronaldo been a failure at Manchester United? I'm always reluctant to sort of answer those kind of questions, because it's a case of, we don't really know the ending yet. I'm a big believer in that. When you're judging all that kind of stuff, you have to have an end point. At the end of the season, if we don't qualify we're not going to qualify top 4, but if we really collapse and go even out of the European places in general, which is a possibility, by the way, guys. I mean, let's not mistake it. We could absolutely, we're 5th at the moment, but there are people with games in hands over us, so we could slip down as far as 7th or 8th. And if you get to that point, yeah, that absolutely it could be. 100% it could be. But you need to have an ending point, I think, to kind of look at that kind of situation. Next question was asked about Cristiano Ronaldo, and it was asked about if he's going to be playing tomorrow. Are there any issues there? Is he fully fit? Rangnick said, quote, "He resumed training yesterday. He trained the whole training session, and I expect him to train today. I would have thought he would be available tomorrow." So it looks like Ronaldo's going to be back. And there was this whole block of Ronaldo's questions, actually. So we'll get into all of the responses first, then we'll try and break them all down. The follow-up question was, so are there any issues with him? Happiness? And Rangnick first said no issues, and then he went, what do you mean issues? Right? And they went, happiness? Is he happy? What's the situation? Does he want to leave? And Rangnick said, quote, "I haven't asked him if he's happy at Manchester United at the club. He's fit again, resumed training yesterday. We shall see which formation we will line up with tomorrow." So essentially, he said, is Ronaldo happy? And Rangnick said, well, I don't know. I haven't spoken to him about it. That's why I do like Ralph Rangnick's press conferences, it must be said, because he's brutally honest and very transparent. Is he happy? I don't know. I haven't spoken to him about being happy. I just run the training sessions, I do the training sessions, I pick the team, I do formations, I do all that kind of stuff. Apart from that, I don't know if he's happy or unhappy. I haven't asked him. So you'll have to ask him. We'll see what happens tomorrow. We'll see which formation we should line up with tomorrow, which is an interesting one. Again, I don't want to get too much into preview and predictions and stuff like that. I'll leave that for Flex later on, but it's quite curious that he would say that, isn't it? It's quite curious that he would say, well, we'll see which formation we'll go with tomorrow. So it's difficult to tell with Rangnick, right? When he first came in, 4-2-2-2, switched to 4-3-3, better at 4-3-3, but recently he's gone with 4-2-3-1, then 4-3-3, then 4-4-2, a flat 4-4-2, then back to 4-2-2. I don't know. I would, hazard to guess. I would absolutely hazard to guess what formation Ralph Rangnick would go with tomorrow. If you said, make a prediction which formation you'll go with, I would think he goes with 4-3-3 because we've seen the best results from that. But also, we saw Manchester United play well, we played okay actually against Spurs. Spurs were just awful when we played them. It was Nuno's last game, wasn't it? Absolutely shambolic. We beat them 3-0 at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium earlier on in the season. We played 3 at the back, and we actually played 2 up front. That's when Cavani and Ronaldo played together, and they played really well. So maybe Rangnick might look at that and say, actually, you know what? Maybe we go with Ronaldo and Cavani starting up front tomorrow. I don't know. I don't think I don't think he's set on any kind of formation, to be honest, at this point. If I hazard to guess, I would probably go 4-3-3 because I think that's seen the best results recently. But I wouldn't know. I really don't. As far as Ronaldo, is he happy at Manchester United? Well, you could look at the certain games recently and matches. He doesn't look very happy, does he, on the pitch? I mean, his body language is not great, and he hasn't been playing very well. I don't think even the biggest Manchester United fan, or Cristiano Ronaldo fan, rather, would say that he hasn't been playing well. His goal-scoring record proves that. I suppose we don't necessarily know the severity of this injury that he's reportedly been dealing with for months. Has that played into it? I think injury, age, players around him, environment, atmosphere, everything plays into why Ronaldo's been poor. Plus, like I said, he's 37 years old nearly, and his powers are waning, certainly. I think if you asked him if he's happy now, I mean, he'd probably say no, because he's not doing what Cristiano Ronaldo wants to do, and that's win things. Cristiano Ronaldo wants to be in a winning side. Cristiano Ronaldo wants to be winning trophies, or at the very least competing for them. He's that much of a winner and a perfectionist that he can't be happy. I think if you asked him, is he happy living in Manchester, he would probably go, yeah, because I lived there for ages, got my houses. But if you asked him if he's happy at Manchester United, probably not. He's probably not happy because we're not doing very well. We're doing really badly, and he can't be happy with that. Will he be here next season? Well, that's a different question, I suppose, is it? I mean, We don't know. I really don't know on that one at the moment. I wouldn't be shocked if he left in the summer. I wouldn't be shocked if he said, you know what, it just didn't work out the way I thought it was going to. For all parties involved, maybe we need a bit of a clean break. Maybe I need to go to another league, whatever league that may be. I don't know. I don't know if he'd go to America. I don't know if he'd try maybe going back to Portugal, go back to Sporting. Who knows what he would do? And maybe Man United just go, you know what, actually, you're on big wages. It's not worked out the way we would have wanted it to. It suits everyone. Everyone's suited in that reality. Or the new manager that comes in, and again, this is why the new manager is so important, whether it's Ten Hag, Pochettino, whoever, Luis Enrique, they might go, no. Keep Cristiano Ronaldo. I need him. I need him for at least another year. So Ronaldo, like a lot of people's future, is still to be determined, I think. So is he happy at Manchester United at the moment? I think the answer is probably no. Whether or not he'll stay, I don't know. This was maybe one of the most interesting parts of the press conference, though. And it was a follow-up question on Cristiano Ronaldo. Now, obviously, after he was unavailable for the game against Manchester City, there was reports that he had flown back to Portugal. And either Manchester United didn't know about it or they didn't authorise it. They also said, well, it's not uncommon for players to fly back and meet their families on days off, but they do have to be authorised, all that kind of stuff. So he was asked about this. He said there were reports that people weren't aware he was going back to Portugal. Can you comment on that and clear it up? And Rangnick just went, no. No, I can't comment on it and clear it up. He said, quote, it doesn't make sense to look back on what happened the last 6 or 7 days. What is important is what happens tomorrow. Not to go through all of this, he and Eddie Cavani are both available for tomorrow. So by saying, can you comment on it and clear it up, and him saying no, he means yes. It wasn't authorised. That report is true. And again, that's why I enjoy the Rangnick press conference, because he's very transparent. He's very transparent. Some people, some other managers might say, can you comment on that? Can you clear that up? And you just go, wow, it's an internal matter. Or no, we knew about it. You'd sweep it under the carpet and just not make it into a bigger deal than it needs to be, because people are going to talk about it because it's Cristiano Ronaldo, unauthorized exits, all this kind of stuff. That's a story. And it is a story, I suppose. Look, he was injured. Should he have been there in Manchester to support his team? You'd have hoped so. And he's a very influential player, one of, if not the greatest player of all time. And he was unavailable, so he flew home. Some people, United fans and people within the club, certainly would look at that and go, oh, that's okay. That's certainly an eye-opener to where his priorities are. And the club obviously didn't know about it. And Rangnick, by saying, I don't want to talk about it, is basically going, yeah, it's all true. All of it. Like in, was it The Force Awakens? When Han Solo's talking about the Jedi and stuff like that, the Force, he goes, it's true. All of it. That's essentially what Ralph Rangnick did in this one. Do you want to talk about it? No. Why? Don't want to. Because it's true. Absolutely is true. But Nico says here, why does he need permission? Who cares? Pat says, who cares if he went home on his day off? He was not the crap on the pitch against City. I think the issue here is, Nikos and Pat, is that if it's policy that you inform the club, that doesn't matter who you are, whatever player you are. You have to, if it's policy to inform the club where you're going on a match day, that's a big deal. It's a big deal. And you could say, well, he wasn't the one on the pitch being crap. No, I understand that, but if that was anyone, if that was, put it this way, if that was Paul Pogba. If that was Paul Pogba, and it was Paul Pogba was injured, and he flew against, and the club didn't know about it, to wherever, we knew he was flying. He told the club he was flying to Dubai for that warm weather training. If he went, he disappeared and went somewhere, to his family or whatever. God, can you imagine social media? Can you imagine social media in the papers and all that kind of stuff? Nobody's above the policy or anything like that, right? That's the situation, I think. Do I really care about it that much? No, to be honest with you, I don't. But it's Cristiano Ronaldo. It's a story. And it certainly does send a message, right? It sends a message to people in the club, I would think. You have to... Senior players are role models. And that's it, I think. What else we got here? Martin says, Ronaldo has a diva mentality. I have only just realised this. Kalechi says, if the rule is you need permission to leave the country to rehab, that's the rule. CR7 isn't an exception, period. That's what I think. That's what I think. If there's rules or there's policies, everyone has to follow them. That's how it works. That's why they are rules. But, Rangnick wasn't focusing on that. He was saying that it's not important to focus on that kind of stuff. What is important is to focus on the game, and he and Cavani are both available tomorrow. I think Ronaldo will start tomorrow. I do. The Cavani one's interesting because a couple of times, right? Ralph Rangnick has said that Edinson Cavani would be available for games, and then he's not. So who knows? Who knows if he'll be available tomorrow, right? He could say now. I mean, it would not shock me whatsoever if he said today, yep, Cavani, he's trained all week, he's available, and then Cavani's not in the squad tomorrow, and then Rangnick's asked before the game, where was Edinson Cavani? And he'll go, I don't know. We did training today, and then we got a note under the door, or the doctor came up to me, the physio came up to me and went, yeah, Cavani's not playing, he's injured. And I was like, what? I thought he trained all week. So who knows? Who knows if Edinson Cavani will be available tomorrow? David Lee says, smash a like on the like button. Yes, got over nearly 260 people watching. Less than 100 likes. Mike Phelan will be in here shortly to smack me. That's not the kind of atmosphere we have around here. But yes, smash a like on the like button if you haven't already. Nico says, play the game until the 90th minute. That should be the policy. Well, obviously, it should be the policy. And that's my point. Also, is that realistically, I don't care that much about that story of him flying away, but I think it's important to set an example to younger players too. I think. AB says he never reads my chats. I just did. Steffi says smack the like button, not Owen, please. Yeah, it's not the kind of atmosphere we want around here. Next question was about Marcus Rashford. This was quite an interesting answer by Rangnick as well, because again, very, very transparent. So the question was, Marcus Rashford, of course, was disappointed not to start against Manchester City. What does he have to do to get back into the side? Very, 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 very quickly, Rangnick just said, quote, to play on the same level that he trains. Boom. Can't get clearer than that. He also said, quote, he is training well, abundant talent for him. It's about transforming the performances in training into games. So that's it. He's basically saying, look, Rashford will start and play games. To get back into the side, he just needs to do what he's doing in training. We've heard this quite a lot, actually. The reports in the week and all that kind of stuff saying, look, the coaches are happy. The coaches are happy with Marcus Rashford's performances in training. They like what they see. If anything, the biggest frustration is that they see what he's doing in training. They see how he's doing in these training drills and games and all that kind of stuff, and they're just pulling their hair out going, why is he not doing that on a Saturday or a Sunday? Because he's flying in training. And you don't need to get more direct than Ralph Rangnick just saying, look, you'll play if you'll do on the pitch what you've done in training. He's also saying, look, what you've been doing recently on the pitch is not good enough. That's it. That's it. And he's not lying. And that was kind of my frustration about the whole Rashford dilemma situation stories that was happening earlier on this week. Of him going, I'm considering my future at Manchester United because I'm not playing. It's like, well, you have to take a step back and realise why you're not playing. You're not playing because you haven't been playing well. And one of the stories was he feels like he's been moved around in all of these different positions, whether it's left wing, right wing, striker, you name it. The reason you get moved around like that is because in whatever position you're playing in, you're not holding down that position. You're not making that position your own because you're not playing good enough. If you play on the left-hand side, you start a game on the left-hand side, you score 2 goals or you do assists or whatever, you nail down that position. You basically tell the manager, whoever picks a side, you say, look, I'm playing the best in that position, so you have to play me on the left-hand side. If your form's indifferent, if you're inconsistent, then you won't play in that position all the time because they're trying to get the best out of you. And that's all Ralph Rangnick's trying to do. That's all everyone's trying to do is get the best out of Marcus Rashford, and it's incredibly frustrating to them, seemingly, that he's doing it in training and he's not doing it on the pitch. I don't think anyone. Like I said, when he didn't start against Manchester City last weekend, it was surprising in the sense that Ronaldo and Cavani are out. The only striking option really we had was Rashford. But I also think it's a massive indictment that he didn't start that match because he hasn't been good enough. Ralph Rangnick is saying, I can't trust you in one of the biggest games of the season because you've been so inconsistent recently. So instead of being, well, maybe I need to leave Manchester United, maybe I need to leave United because I'm going to get dropped from the England squad and all that kind of stuff. It's like, no, you're going to get dropped from the England squad because you've not been playing well. And you've not been playing for Manchester United because you've not been playing well. If you up your levels, if you play well, you will play for Manchester United. Make yourself indispensable. He hasn't made himself indispensable at the moment because he's starting on the bench a lot of times. And nobody is seeing Marcus Rashford on the bench at the moment and going, oh, he does not deserve to be on the bench. Everyone's been saying sometimes when he starts, oof, he's lucky to start because he hasn't been playing well. That's the situation with Marcus Rashford. So I think he has to have a look at himself and say, I need to up my levels. And that's it. And that's basically what Ralph Rangnick has said in that answer. Do what you're doing in training on the pitch. Have some end product. Make yourself indispensable. That's it. Do I expect him to start tomorrow? Definitely not up front because you've got Ronaldo and Edinson Cavani back. Do I expect him to start out on the left? No, I don't actually. I think Elanga will probably start out on the left or Sancho on the left. I think you'd go with Elanga and Sancho because I think they're the two best or most informed wide players recently. I mean, to be honest, the emergence of Anthony Elanga itself is an indictment on Marcus Rashford's form, because if Marcus Rashford was playing well, Elanga's opportunities would be far more limited. The fact that he's getting so many opportunities in the side because Elanga's coming in and playing better speaks volumes. Absolutely speaks volumes about Marcus Rashford's recent form. So, again, I find Rangnick's comments there to be pretty spot on, to be honest with you, and very transparent. And I'm sure he said that to Marcus Rashford in training, the last press conference that Ralph Rangnick did. He said something similar. He said, I will do everything I can to work with Marcus Rashford to turn him into an elite level striker. He said it again in this press conference. He said he's training well. He's got talent. He's got everything you need for a modern striker. It's just about transforming performance of the training sessions into games. So, I mean, let me know what you think. What do you think in the live chat? Do you think that Rashford will start tomorrow? He's definitely got to start up front, but is Rashford going to start on either one of the wings? Let me know, because I think that's quite a curious one, definitely. Finally, the last question that was asked was about Arsenal and about the race for top four. And the question was, would you concede that Arsenal are now favourites for fourth place? Of course, they're a point ahead of Manchester United with 3 games in hand. And Rangnick said, yes, but that's not only us. It's the same with 2 or 3 other clubs. We still have 10 games to play. We're fully aware we have to look at ourselves and we can't drop points anymore. See what people are saying in the chat. David Lee says doesn't think Rashford will start. Nico said Rash and Sancho to start. Cred says Elanga and Sancho on the wings. Martin says will it be Eaton bench. So we'll see when it comes to Rashford. When it comes to that question he was asked there, Rangnick, about are Arsenal favourites for the 4th place? I mean, of course they are. Like, maths and statistics will say that they are the favourites for the 4th place. Not only because they're a point ahead and they've got so many games in hand over us, but they're playing better than us. Their form is better than us. What are they looking for? 5 straight Premier League wins? I don't know the last time they lost in the league as well. I think it was to City. Their form is very, very good. You watched them play against Watford last weekend. They looked very strong. And even when it did go back to 1-1 and Watford scored the great goal, you still fancied Arsenal to get more goals, and they did. I don't know who Arsenal have got at the weekend. You can let me know in the live chat. Let me check here. Who have Arsenal got tomorrow? Let's do a quick check. They've got Leicester. Difficult game. It's at home. But still, at this point, I mean, that's what we've got to do. We've got to look at those and be like, oh, hopefully they drop points. But this is my point earlier on, and I guess it kind of brings it a bit full circle here, is, yeah, Arsenal could drop points. Yeah, that's very typical Arsenal, is to drop points and stumble when it comes to the end of the season and all that kind of stuff. But even if they did have this, monumental collapse and they did somehow manage to blow these 3 games in hand, all that kind of stuff, I'm not even sure at this point I would trust Manchester United to close that gap anyway. Because that's how we've been playing. I don't know if I trust us to beat Spurs tomorrow, to be honest with you, right? I mean, it's good, and sure the players are aware of it, and sure Ralph Rangnick's aware. We can't afford to drop any more points. We can't drop any more points. We have to win every single game, all that kind of stuff. Do you trust us to do that between now and the end of the season? I don't. I really don't. Yes, we've still got 10 games to play. I don't see Manchester United winning 10 straight games. I mean, it's okay. We'll put this in the live chat as well. How many? We got 10 games left to play this season. How many games do you think Manchester United win out of that 10? Honestly, how many games do you think United win out of the remaining 10? For me, If we got like 7, I'd be really happy with that. But I'm not even sure we will. I'm not even sure we will with that because, again, we've been so inconsistent with dropping points and draws and all that kind of stuff. Raz says 7. David Lee says 7. AB says 5. Funk a Delica Mover 5. Cred says 5 wins, 3 draws, 2 losses. Simon says 3 wins max. Santiago says big up Owen. Damien says easy 4 max. Nico says 7 wins, 3 draws, unbeaten. 10 games left. How many wins do we get out of it? I mean, even in the league, like, was it last 5 games? It's been what? 2 wins, 2 draws, and a loss, I think, maybe. So again, our form would suggest that we're maybe going to get like maybe 5 wins, and 3 draws, a couple of losses, maybe. It's not. This is our last 5 games in the Premier League: loss, draw, 2 wins, and a loss. So if you were going to times that by 2 for the last 10 games, you get 2 losses, 2 draws, 2 losses, 4 draws, and 4 wins, and that isn't enough. That isn't enough to get the top 4, in my opinion, because Arsenal, with their games in hand and their recent form, will be clear of us, and that's the issue. To have any chance of getting top 4, we have to pretty much win every game between now and the end of the season. And what is there to say that is going to happen? So that's tough. It really is. Ian says 4 wins and losses. K-Flow says we still have Anfield, Stamford Bridge, Emirates, 2 losses there. David Lee, Oracle Settings, of course, says we'll win tomorrow 3-1. I hope so, because I'm doing the match for you tomorrow, and that could go badly. That really could go badly. Like, when KG rung me and was like, "Oh, can we switch tomorrow?" and all that kind of stuff, I was like, "Oh." Yes, obviously, but that means we could lose, which is not ideal. It's really not ideal. Palmeiras says, yes, Owen, you legend. Appreciate that, Palmeiras. Got over 300 people watching, so be sure to smash a like on the like button if you haven't already. If everyone smashes a like on the like button that's watching, we'll have over 300 likes. This is the maths I'm kind of bringing to the stream right now. Martin says, the only way we get Champions League is if Chelsea aren't allowed to play the competition next year. I mean, to be honest, Martin, you're actually not wrong. Like, it's not, that is literally, and I know some United fans are probably looking at that thinking that could be a possibility, but even that's no way to get into the Champions League. We haven't been good enough. We haven't been good enough to get in the Champions League this season. We don't deserve to get top 4 with the performances and the results, and we're so, and again, I look at the table and I do look at Tottenham with their 2 games in hand. Of course, if they win their 2 games in hand, they'll get 6 points. They'll be in front of us. So we could be realistically to 6th. And like I said, we could, to the comment earlier on, we're saying, "Oh, is this the worst season post Fergie?" And I said, "Well, the season isn't over yet, so we don't know. But there's absolutely a possibility. Let's be honest. There has to be. So who knows?" Santiago says, I have not kept up with the Chelsea situation. Is there a chance they could drop points to open it up even more? Well, it's a very fluid situation, to be honest. But I mean, it depends on, people have talked about, administration and all that kind of stuff. And if you do go into administration, you get a points deduction. I think it's 9 points or whatever. But that's kind of hypotheticals in the future that we don't really know too much about. I'm no expert of anything like that. So, and again, like we said earlier on, and Ralph Rangnick said earlier on, we have to focus on ourselves, and we have to look at ourselves, and at the end of the season, we have to hold ourselves accountable for our failures this year. And that's what it is. That's ultimate. That is failures. Everyone, club, managers, board, you name it, everyone. So that's the issue. And of course, there have been more discussions and rumours today about managers and coaches. I think it was David Ornstein was on the early kickoff on Sky Sports News this morning saying that Manchester United are in talks, or that process of looking for a new manager is very much underway. They're talking to candidates, and reportedly Ajax wouldn't stand in the way of Erik Ten Hag if he was approached or offered the Manchester United job, and Ten Hag's interested and he's learning English. And on the flip side, you get Pochettino, people saying that Pochettino's asked people what the situation's like at Manchester United. Don't need to ask anyone. Turn on the telly. You see the situation at Manchester United and the structure there and all that kind of stuff. That will continue, to be honest. I said before that the ideal situation for me would be that we would have an announcement about who our new manager or head coach would be by like April. Similar to the way that, when Pep came in at Man City, Pellegrini was still in the job. It was announced, I want to say like February or something like that. It was announced like really earlier on in the season in comparison that Pep was coming in at the end of the season. And that was it, basically. And, Pellegrini was going to leave, and that was it. And Pellegrini wasn't even an interim manager. He was the permanent manager. But it was like, Pellegrini's leaving, Pep's coming in. That's announced in February. We know what's going on. We're planning for Pep, and Pep's going to be part of that planning, even though he was at Bayern Munich at the time. So that would be the ideal situation for me, is that come April, like an announcement's made, Rangnick definitely is moving upstairs, and Ten Hag or Poch or whoever's coming in, I don't trust the powers that be to be able to be that in control, or be that looking that far forward, or all that kind of stuff. I mean, if you've got someone, I suppose, like Ten Hag, whose club is saying, look, if you get offered the job, we won't stand in your way. Obviously, your focus, we hope, is on Ajax to the end of the season. If they could work something out, I guess that's possible. That is possible. The Poch situation, it depends really if PSG want him. It depends. Like, obviously, their collapse was brutal on Wednesday. I would contest that's not much of a Poch thing as opposed to a PSG thing. He's not the first manager and won't be the last manager to oversee a collapse in the Champions League. Emery, Tuchel, Pochettino, they've all done it because that's the club. That's the mentality. Rio Ferdinand said, falling apart is in their DNA. So I don't put too much on Poch for that, personally. I know people have got different opinions. But again, that depends on whether PSG consider him to be part of the project. I look at it as if PSG can't find a replacement, they'll keep him because they're going to win the league. They want Zidane, obviously, but it's whether Zidane really wants to go to PSG. By all accounts, he wants the France job. And the France job might be available at the end of the year after the World Cup. I think Deschamps, is he contracted till the end of the year? Or even if France don't do well, they'll probably sack him, and then that's how Zidane comes in. That's the job he wants. So I think he's looking forward to the future. And if PSG can't get another coach, they'll probably stick with Poch for another season. And then that would mean that Man United getting him becomes difficult. And then Ten Hag's an easier choice because he's more available to get. So much stuff with that at the moment I think is very fluid. And but again, moving back to my original point, I would like it, and we're hearing these reports about Man United doing the process and all that kind of stuff now. I would like it to be announced, say in April, so we can actually do some planning and actually do some forward looking to who we're going to get in the summer, who we're going to bring in, who's going to leave, all that kind of stuff. But that's very wishful thinking. I think it's very wishful thinking on my part. And maybe it could be already done. Maybe it could be already done, but it doesn't get announced because kind of that sort of unofficial, we're not going to announce it till the end of the season, all that kind of stuff. Who knows? Who knows the situation? But the managerial merry-go-round will rumble on to the end of the year. Keith says, let's be honest, we've been poor midfield for around as long as Carrick left. I no longer watch matches expected to be entertained. We're average at best, and Ronaldo has passed it, in my opinion. Well, it was quite fascinating, wasn't it? I don't know if you've seen it. I would recommend to go watch the combined 11, the combined Manchester United and Spurs 11 that Flex did last night with Fuad. Very interesting because I remember a couple of years ago when you do a Man United Spurs 11 when Poch was there. And you'd struggle to get some United players in, realistically, because Spurs had some great... I mean, United chased to buy Spurs' back four for years, whether it was Alderweireld, Vertonghen, Kyle Walker, Trippier, you name it. We were chasing that back four for so many years. And then the midfield players, Dembele, the list goes on and on of all of those great players they had, plus Son, plus Kane. They just had such a tremendous side. And for years, you'd struggle to get some United players in there at the time. Now, realistically, who have Spurs got? They've got Son and Kane. That's about it. Both sides aren't great. They're really not. Both sides aren't great at the moment, which makes tomorrow's game more fascinating. And I think Antonio Conte is kind of realising that at the moment too. He's looking around going, man, this squad is miles off it. Really miles off it. So tomorrow's going to be fascinating. But as David Lee says, now you struggle to get a side. Exactly. You sort of, combine 11. Can we just have Son and Kane? That's about it. Yeah, it's going to be an interesting one tomorrow. As I mentioned, guys, be sure to smash a like on the like button. Be sure to subscribe. I'll be back tomorrow with the match view. As I mentioned, later on this evening, Flex is going to be back with a match preview, previewing tomorrow's game. A really exciting and interesting one. So keep an eye out for that. I think it's going to be... I will say later on this evening. Keep an eye on your subscription feed. or on your timeline, whatever it is, here on YouTube. Tomorrow, as I mentioned, we'll have full match day experience. So we'll have the road trip, as always, with Flex as he travels to Old Trafford. Then we'll have the match view with me. Good luck, guys. Everyone, we're all in this together, okay? We're all in this one together. Match view with me. Then after me, it's going to be KG doing the full-time view. I'm not sure what the panel is going to be because a lot of the guys are going to be at the games doing fan views tomorrow. So you never know. It might just be KG himself doing a KG soliloquy here on the channel. That would be interesting, right? So who knows? Keep an eye out for that one. But we'll speak about that. I'll be the one calling KG during the game or before the game. Oh, it's going to be an interesting one, that. I'm quite excited. Nevertheless, guys, look, I'm out of here. As I mentioned, keep an eye out for later on this evening, and I'll speak to you again very, very soon. Peace.